You are listening to the Overwatch League Network, the podcast with Deadeye on all the Overwatch League news and information. The show with Tactical Visor on the statistics and analysis. Here are your hosts, Totally Drunk, Spider, and Slambo.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Overwatch League Network, the podcast with Deadeye on all the latest Overwatch League news, information, and esports analysis. I am your host, Totally Drunk, and tonight in episode 118, we're going to update you on everything that's been going on around the league. We are going to take a look at the Overwatch League's move to an online format, which is going to be happening at least for the foreseeable future. And again, we have the return of the Overwatch League, which will be back in action this weekend. So we'll go ahead and do our Week 7 preview, since, Week 6 just didn't quite happen for a multitude of different reasons. And I'm sure all of us are well aware of what's been going on around, really the world at this point. A lot of states shut down a lot of, restaurants, bars trying to contain the COVID-19 at this point. So before we get into the news and introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show. And of course, I'd like to thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So here we are, boys. Really day 2 of quarantine at this point. We've been having a few distractions here and there. We've had like Overwatch contenders going on, but the lack of Overwatch League this past week definitely felt pretty daunting. But, looking at just the way that things have been shaken up, we've seen more and more event cancellations going on, and now we are kind of reaching that last-ditch effort in order to make sure that we can maintain games moving forward. But how are you guys feeling without the lack of competitive esports really going on right now?
Well, with no Overwatch League this weekend, I took some time and played a bunch of Overwatch. I actually went 5-0 on tank placements, so I had a pretty good time this weekend.
Because Ryan was banned.
Yeah, I played all ball. 100% of playtime was on Wrecking Ball. I love it. It's great. What about you, Anura? How was your weekend without the Overwatch League?
My weekend was pretty good. I can't even remember Saturday.
Nice.
So it was my parents' anniversary, so we had a lot of fun together, and it ended up with everyone just passing out. But Sunday was great. I watched all of Beastars, a new show that just came out on Netflix. Really good. And then I just waited to see what's going on with classes, since now I'm all online after the coronavirus tears. But we'll see for the future. But no Overwatch for me. Not yet. I'm waiting for Anna to come back before I start.
You still got your May though.
That is true.
My bad.
Yeah, I'm not playing May until I can wall off Orion. I'm good.
Well, who knows? You might even have something new to play this next week. At the Heroes League.
Fingers
Maybe I'm super hyped. Let's hope.
So just a few quick updates in regards to, different Overwatch League Network stuff that's going on right now. We do have our community game night coming up this Saturday. That is March 21st. And we'll be starting that off at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So join us this Saturday. And of course, we'll be streaming those games live on this channel. And we hope that you guys can make it out for this one. And again, these will be taking place after all the Overwatch League matches that take place that day. So outside of that, we also have a giveaway that we've been doing for Heroes Never Die episode number 200. That is now live. You can find more information on that, whether it is on our Discord page or on the HND Twitter at HND Overwatch. So make sure you go there to find out how you can enter said giveaway. But let's go ahead and let's jump into the news, because we got a lot of stuff going on, more so with what was unveiled during Watch Point. A lot of stuff happening, being announced there in a short amount of time. And there's been, a couple of things that have been happening kind of in between here and there as well, including the Shanghai Dragons, who have unveiled their new mascot. So they basically took to social media to unveil this new mascot, and they are basically looking to the community to pick out a name for this mascot. And if you're wondering, well, what exactly is the mascot? Well, they did not depart away from the dragon aspect in regards to the representation there. So they basically have like this new dragon mascot who has a Shanghai Dragons t-shirt. He's wearing a pair of goggles. His bright orange wings, and he's got basically a tail of Charmander, essentially. He's got like the flame and everything, so if you just snuff that out, I'm sure the mascot will die. But
Oh my God.
while no name has been chosen yet, Juice seems to be one of the more stronger contenders thus far. And, I thought this was interesting because, so far, we haven't seen the Shanghai Dragons take the stage in 2020 as of yet, due to all of the homestand cancellations, which have basically gone into effect between now until basically the beginning of May to protect the well-being of the attendees, the players, as well as the staff members. But when I saw this, I was just kind of like, okay, so they did like the silhouette tease of it, and then they unveiled it, I think, the next day, and I was like, oh, so it's a dragon. And that was my gut reaction. I was like, well, not really straying too far from the norm. They went the more, cutesy route, but it definitely has like the Charmeleon color scheme going on with it. So, I mean, I guess there's that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and start. I hate this design. I hate everything about it. I don't even think it's cute. I love the name Juice, though. I think Juice is a great name for a mascot. I wish it was not create mascot name, but create mascot. It's like we already got the name. It's Juice, and you just build from there. Because I really, is it wearing goggles? Like I don't. It's got like goggles? Got like a little armband thing. I don't know. It's like, is it skating? Is it a skater guy? I don't get it. I don't. It's after Sparks mascot. I thought they could go even. I feel like they can go harder instead of like cutesy, but maybe it's for more of the Chinese audience. I don't know. What about you, Booger? What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's definitely way close to being looking like Charmeleon. Like that's Pokemon as heck. Like it's kind of a little too close. And then if you look in the background, there's a dragon in the background of their like Shanghai Dragons tweet, and that literally looks just like the Dragon Ball Z dragon. And I'm just like, it would have been cool if y'all went a little bit more original, Like I liked Pokemon. I don't think that looks bad, but the fact that it's so close to that, it's kind of like, that's like the first thing you think about. Are they going to be like the Pokemon team now? Like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird choice in my opinion, but I don't hate it.
I'll have to go back and do like a side-by-side comparison to see if the color scheme, at least in regards to the body color, is the same between the two.
Yeah, it looks so much just like a Charmeleon with like antlers, and even like the tail being on fire and everything. It's just like almost too much of a ripoff in my opinion.
So that's not the only bit of news that we got from one of the teams this week, as we also got a lot of stuff happening with the Houston Outlaws, who saw multiple departures in regards to their front office. So we have their general manager, Flame, the facilities and operations manager, Messer, no longer being with the organization, and both of these guys had been members of the Outlaw staff since the start of the 2018 season. So with Flame as their general manager, the Outlaws have gone on to go 33 and 42 in their regular season matches. And this off season had a lot of storyline behind the scenes. Obviously, there was the whole fact that the team was without permanent ownership. the team itself was going up for sale, and we didn't really know when the team was going to be able to make moves, which, they eventually did. They signed 5 new players to the roster, while several other players had left the team or just moved to a different position within the team or just within the Overwatch League as a whole. So despite all of that, however, we've seen the Outlaws continue to have kind of like a rocky start to their 2020 season. Right now, they are 2-5 with their wins really coming in their most recent 2 matches. And then, of course, they got a little bit of break now, so that is kind of unfortunate on that end. So at this time, the team has not made any sort of announcements in regards to naming a new general manager. And then we most recently found out about the president of the Outlaws, Chris Diapolonio, who is also out of the Outlaw staffing, who is exploring new options himself. So a lot of front office changes on that front. And, Booger, like, is there any reason to be concerned here? Maybe this is just kind of like the old guard butting heads with maybe some of the new guard in this case? What do you think's going on here?
I don't know. Like I've always specifically thought Flame seemed pretty cool and was good for the Outlaws, and it kind of is a shocker to have that many departures real quick. It like you said, it could be like the old guard leaving and passing it on. They could also be having some financial issues. Like the cancellations aren't going to be easy on very many teams. There's also a lot of talk about how there was an issue with a lot of the merch arriving for the Houston homestand, and they didn't have everything they wanted to be able to sell on site. So I wonder if that lost them some money on top of knowing homestands and it's a financial thing, or it could just be like you said, like they brought in a new coach, new players, and it's just a further transition into the new. I'm very curious to see who they're going to bring into that position. If they're going to promote somebody from within that's already on the team, maybe one of their assistant coaches or something becoming a general manager. But yeah, it was a big surprise to see them trying to make those kind of changes, and it feels like the momentum of the Outlaws was turning around. Like they started off weak, they hit the upswing, and now they're making changes. It's like, why don't you ride this out, see if this upswing is going to stay good, unless it was urgent to make those changes. That's why I kind of wildly speculated that it could be financial. Like that's just wild speculation on my part, but it does seem like if it was that they were unhappy with how things were going, it would have been not as soon as they started winning. Like I don't know what kind of thoughts do you all have on this?
So I have a wild theory. All right, so sure, Flame. First of all, Flame. I think he did amazing for what he had dealt. One season where he basically had nothing, no financial backing at all. Second season, I think he's done great. Other than them having fevers, I don't think he could really stop that. I think he did great. But I think the Western players have just been doing too well lately, Blase and stuff. They need to bring in like a new GM, new president. I think Bare Hands is coming back. He's ready to make another Korean team, full Korean team. This is not serious at all. I hope you guys know this. But I thought it'd be super crazy if Bare Hands came back and just destroyed this team from the inside out. I do think they're looking for something internal. I do think it was some internal issues. I don't think it was with the players. I think it was mostly maybe they have a new management on top of them. They didn't like the way they're running it, and the management didn't like vice versa. I think a lot of it could have been more mutual in a way of like they just didn't mesh well. And I think halfway through the season they realized that, and they're probably gonna be looking for some people who have the same vision as the new Outlaws. It's a new company. Like you can't blame them for trying to get new stuff in them in the team.
So it essentially just leaves them at this point with Harsha, Dream, the Force of Hureg. And I know Cool Matt has like a staff position as well, whatever that position is. Like I honestly can't remember. I couldn't have been like a very like high end one at this point. So it's not like they have a ton of pieces in play already that they could potentially promote. So maybe this is going to be a situation where they are going to just look outside of the org to bring someone new into the fold on that end. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on what the Outlaws are planning on doing moving forward. But, you know, given how long of a break that they were going to have in between matches, I wasn't too thrown off by them deciding to make changes now as opposed to, say, the mid-season. And obviously the mid-season at this point's going to be a little bit different. More on that later. But I thought, like, the timing for it felt right. You had Flame, who basically made all the moves that he was able to make. Now he's going to look for another opportunity elsewhere. And we'll see whether or not this is going to derail that momentum that the Outlaws had whenever they do step back onto, well, in this case, on the online format. So we'll see how they do on that front.
Hear me out real quick. They could be freeing up some extra cash flow to sign Bumper. I don't know.
I like that theory. I like that theory a lot. Any way to get Bumper on the team, I'm gonna like it. This is what it's needed. They could be actually freeing up some money for a new player. That could actually be huge. But I do think they're still got to fill that hole.
And they're making a new player where the weakest spot is probably main tank. So it's a pretty out there theory, but it's
Careful with that. Not a lot of fans are gonna come after you after that. After those words. Oh.
So in other news, we had got a ton of updates from a special episode of Watchpoint that aired this past Sunday. And we had the senior director of the Overwatch League, John Spector, joining the broadcast to basically fill us in on everything that's going on kind of behind the scenes and gave us some details about what the new schedule is going to be looking like. Now, Booger, you know, looking back this past week, we're like, well, there's like 7 weeks on the schedule that were just completely blank after the announcement of further cancellations to the homestand events. And luckily, we got matches resuming this Saturday. So we're going to see the Pacific West Division teams playing for the first time in what has been several weeks at this point. So when it comes to this weekend, we're going to have 4 different teams in play. We're going to have the San Francisco Shock, both LA teams, so the Gladiators and the Valiant will both be in play, and we'll also finally get to see the Seoul Dynasty debut in the 2020 season. So right now we're seeing a shift overall to an online match format for the teams. We're going to be divided into 3 different servers in order to optimize latency. So we have all of the Atlantic Division teams being based on the East Coast. You have the Pacific West teams along with the Seoul Dynasty who will be playing on a West Coast server. Then you'll have the 4 Chinese teams playing on a local server in Asia. Now, right now, one of the big focuses is trying to make up some of these matches that have been canceled in, you know, March and April. So what the league is going to be doing is they're going to be adding games on Friday. And by doing this, they're hoping to have things basically caught up to speed by May. So due to that, we see some other things that were planned initially to take place, like the All-Star event, as well as a mid-season tournament, either getting shifted to, you know, the end of the season in the case of the All-Star game, and then you had the mid-season tournament being completely canceled outright, which, you know, we had been basically like, well, there's really no point in having this when we haven't seen, you know, 5 or 6 teams at this point. So really no surprise on that end. But all of these matches will be broadcast for the fans on the Overwatch League YouTube channel. And, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing the teams that we haven't seen and just seeing a healthier mix of teams entering the fold and competing as opposed to saying, you know, kind of like that inaugural season feeling we were having here in the recent weeks, as we really only got to see like 7 or 8 teams competing at this point.
Yeah, go ahead, Anura.
Go ahead. I go.
I think that the move into online, that's like that's not exactly the ideal format that we were looking into, but it does seem like they are working in a way to optimize the latency to make it like as much of a non-factor as possible. So seeing that they're like are efforts to try to minimize that when that's like the main concern about being online is just pretty reassuring that we're still going to be able to have like a solid season of Overwatch League to finish watching. And like moving to the online, even if there are issues, it's not like we haven't been seeing issues live. Like there was, a couple games where they had tons of pauses in live events. So I think that the online format, while we were all kind of hoping for LAN events just because it seems like that would be preferred to players, it seems like they're doing their best to handle it the best way they could. And that watch point, like even though they had like a weekend off of Overwatch League, they still are trying to like communicate what they're trying to do for the league moving forward. And like I really think they're handling it well. Like it's literally a global crisis, and they've been very open about it. As soon as they cancel stuff, they're like, we're canceling it. They're not waiting around till they can announce the replacements or nothing. Like I feel like we've been kind of knowing the cutting edge of how they're handling it, and I gotta give them credit for that. But yeah, that's what do you think about it, Anura?
I think it's perfect. I think this is the best move they could have made. This is the advantage we have of regular sports, is that we can do it online. This is what we needed. This is what I needed personally. I could see Gladiators again. I could see Pacific teams again. With that being said, I think there's still a lot to do. I want to see the rest of the schedule, see how it works out. I mean, like the Pacific, not Pacific, the Asian teams, they only have 4 people to play right now. Like it's gonna get weird. I think we're gonna see like a lot of the same matchups, but it's only because of necessity over anything else. I think it's overall it's the best thing we can do right now. Mid-season tournament, not really important. I was excited for it until games got canceled, and so it's whatever now. All Stars, I still think should it be at the end of the season. I don't like it mid-season because people like Pine gets just picked up out of nowhere. And you really don't get to see some of the rookies or some of the people who haven't had a chance to play really like shine and able to get in the All Stars as well. I think overall this is the perfect move. I get to watch Overwatch League, and that's always a good thing for me. So
yeah, when you just look at how things have kind of been shaken up here as of late with the whole pandemic, there's been a lot of events that, even ones that were kind of planned to be in an empty venue, have also been canceled. So you are able to like kind of work around that and do like bare bones type setups, but I don't think that's what anyone really wants at this point. So going the online format seems to be the correct way to go forward, and this is also impacting things like the Call of Duty League as well, who will hopefully be returning to action on that front too. So I'm kind of curious to see what this is going to do in regards to how smoothly things are going to operate with the online only format, and what this is going to mean for the YouTube viewership. Because we have seen over time the average viewership really starting to like trickle down for the Overwatch League, and with a lot of people kind of just being holed up at home, doing self-quarantine, at this point, I wonder if we're actually going to get to see a spike in this, knowing that a lot of people right now are turning to gaming, streaming, or whatever at this point. A lot of people are stuck at home and they're looking for something to watch. And sure, a lot of people are gonna just be binge watching things on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, Disney Plus at this point. Frozen 2 just dropped early, by the way, if you guys haven't watched it. But people are looking for something to do, and with the Overwatch League back, a lot of the esports fans are going to be happy on that front.
Yeah, I'm glad we're gonna have games to watch. I was kind of bummed that we might have had like a longer stretch without any games. One weekend, unfortunate, not the worst thing. And not to mention that the games they got for us this weekend look really good. Like, I'm stoked. I'm gonna try to be watching every single one of them. It looks good. We'll get some more of that in a bit. More this weekend hype coming later.
I also, to go on viewership, I think these specific games are going to bring some viewership in. I think some people are a little, at least me personally, I was getting really tired of these Atlantic teams. We've been seeing them for weeks now. If I didn't have this podcast, I probably would have tried to skip a few of them. With that being said, this is what I wanted. I want to see Pacific teams, and now I want to see Pacific versus Atlantic. Those are like the two things I want to see now. It's just, I'm so tired of this Atlantic versus Atlantic. Fusion versus Eternal, just every single week. I'm excited to see something new, something fresh. See how these teams do past their first week or just now, because we haven't even seen Seoul or the Chinese teams.
Yeah, I wonder if some of the teams that we've seen play quite a few games so far, like the Outlaws, Paris, Philly, the ones that have played like 6 games are going to see quite a long break, while like a lot of the teams that haven't played catch up, like they want it to be even out.
I would imagine if we do something like that, it would probably be maybe like a 3-week type setup. I can't imagine they do like extended periods off on that front. I'll have to look back at like what the prior schedule was though to see like what the longer breaks were, not include in the cancellations, because obviously that would kind of skewer the perspective updates on that front. Well, anyways, obviously we have a lot of changes going on all at kind of like one time frame here, and we are also going to be seeing changes to the hero pool draw. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast, we've been calling for weighted odds for the hero pool, and sure enough, that is going to be in place starting this Sunday's draw, so we're going to see this come into play in regards to week 8. So how this is going to happen is during the selection process, these heroes that are seeing a 10% or above play rate are going to see anywhere from 1 ticket up to 4 tickets in the lottery. So you have heroes that are seeing like 75% plus, having 4 tickets. You got the heroes at, 50 to 74, having 3. Then below that, at 25 to 49, they'll have 2 tickets, and then anything below like 25% will only have 1 ticket in the lottery. So hopefully this is going to mean that, someone that's like at an 11% play rate isn't just going to get selected, as opposed to someone who's had, say, like an 85% play rate and then is still active that following week. So we've obviously had this discussion about in the prior iteration of if there was just going to be kind of like a rotated meta where now we see dive 1 week, maybe like the McCree May composition with the Ryan Diva like that second week, and then keep alternated from there on out. And at this point, we can't really say if that was actually going to be the case, but moving forward, the odds are definitely going to be more in the favor of the meta picks for that prior week to get pulled, as opposed to the sort of mix and match that we have been seeing so far. Now, obviously, we haven't gotten to see this come into play as of yet, but is there anyone in particular here out of like the hero pool that we've seen in play that you guys are looking forward to getting drawn and pulled out of the rotation at this point?
May and Diva. May and Diva. I don't think there's any other answers you want. I love Diva. I think she's great. I want to see a meta without her. Maybe Sigma would be played more. I want to see something without her. And May just needs to go. I know like she just got nerfed. She just got nerfed, but like I don't think it's enough. I think she'll still be played a decent amount. I think she's been in the meta for too long. I think it brings a lot of stuff that previously hasn't been able to been played. I think it's her time to go. If you want hero bans, you want May banned for at least a week. Things I don't want to see is Soldier ever banned again. He doesn't deserve it. I feel like it was a bad trial. But at the end of the day, it's May and Diva. I don't think, and Moria, just ban Moria every week. I don't need to see her in my games ever again. I think she's not fun for me. But maybe Brigitte every once in a while. Flip those two, something like that.
You really think they'll ban Brig after that chonky cat?
I hope not.
If they bring the cat, I'm totally fine. It's like I can live.
Yeah, like the weighted draw for the hero ban. I like the idea, but I kind of would have liked to see the other way play out a couple more times. Because now once we see the weighted ones play out for a minute, we don't have that much information to look back on to compare and contrast. We had they did it twice, but we didn't even get. Did we get 2 full weeks of hero ban play or just one? Either way, that's not enough. It's not enough. Yeah, one, and then the second one that is going to be this weekend. So like, it seems like we would have before they announced weighted. Like, out of the problems they had with that, the pros and the cons, I personally think that the bigger issue was them not matching the ranked pools. Like, I would have rather, like, I'm not against them doing the weighted draw, but I would have liked to see like my ranked games match what the Overwatch League's going to be doing. Like, even if it hits ranked a couple days before, it doesn't matter. Like, I would have liked to see it mirror. Like, I feel like that would have been the change that would come before the weighted draws. But I mean, at the same time, like, I don't think that weighted draws is a bad thing. So I never want to see a world where Torb's banned in Overwatch League, and I think that this might guarantee it. There hasn't been a week where he got over 10% yet, but I don't think that that's impossible with the fast
We're gonna get
shifting
there,
metas.
boys. One of these
And
days, Torb's gonna be above.
One more, I don't want to ever see Tracer banned. Like, that's such a thrilling character to watch. Like, and I feel like she's able to slot into multiple different styles of play. So I don't want to see a Tracer ban. I know it's probably going to happen eventually, but I'm very excited to hopefully get a May free weekend. The less May there is in the games, the more stoked I'm about it. Like, I didn't hate watching GOATs. Like, I thought the 3-3 wasn't that bad to watch. I don't like watching the May games because it's like so anti highlights and anti clip like hype. I don't know. It's just my least favorite. Maybe I'm also a little bit biased from being a Wrecking Ball main and just hating May. Like, that's probably a little bit to do with it too. But yeah, hopefully this Sunday we see May getting pulled out of the hero pool, which I guess that means for the first time ever, I want to see all the teams play in May to give it more chances of having her pulled out. So that feels kind of weird, but we'll see what goes down on Sunday.
Well, here's the thing, Booker. You say you want the way that the hero pool is to mirror what it is in Overwatch League as well as what it is on live. Now, here's the thing. It is kind of mirror in it, just not in the way that you want, because, things are just changing on the fly in both aspects. So, yeah, we have a change here for the Overwatch League, adding the weighted bans to the hero draw, and then, on ladder, they're like, oh, you know what? F it. We're just going to ban 2 supports.
2 main supports.
I think the theory
is so
is
nutty.
I think Moria just did too much damage, and the algorithm got confused. Yeah. It's like, this is pulling too much damage. It's actually a DPS. It's basically a soldier with less healing. So I think that's what happened. Actually, that's why Moria got banned. I forgot. If Orissa's ever able to get banned, I'm rooting for Orissa. I hope you guys know that. I don't want to see her. I don't want to see her. She's great at certain things, not the things she should be good at right now. I think a good bunker comp would be nice, but I don't want her in anything other than that. The double shield stuff, I don't want to see that. So I think that's my final one. So I think mine are May, Diva, Orisa. I don't want to. I would love to see Diva after like one good ban. But other than that, I think Mei, Diva, Orisa are my 3.
Heck, they might just ban Orisa and Diva for you. Like, there's no rules anymore.
Yeah, it's probably just gonna change on the fly like it did in the ranked play. Well, anyway, so outside of that, we also did get another announcement on Watchpoint, and that is that we're gonna have a new map pool enter into play as well. So when it comes to the control maps, there are no changes. All of them are in the rotation. No change there. But they did swap out the assault maps, the hybrid maps, as well as the escort maps. So looking at assault, your 3 options at this point are Hanamura, Volskaya, and I blame Booker on this one. More Paris.
Love Paris.
Oh,
Hey, at least there's no lunar colony that this map pool. That's definitely my least favorite
I'd
map.
rather have Horizon than Paris any day of the week. Give me.
Horizon has A and B points that are both horrendous. Paris has A that's pretty cool and B that's like Horizon's 2 for 2 on just.
I'd rather see a
in
good
my
sim
opinion.
strat on Horizon than Paris any day of the week.
Okay, so the next map type, what do we got coming?
For hybrid, we have Hollywood, Eichenwald, and Numbani. Hopefully that means we'll get to see some defensive Farah on Numbani again. That'll be cool. And then Escort, we have Route 66, Rialto, as well as Dorado.
Personally, I dig Rialto, and Numbani is one of those maps that I used to hate, but it's grown on me, and I really am looking forward to see how the pros handle it. Because where I'm at right now, I don't got a firm grasp on it. So watching how they do it in the Overwatch League will be great to try to improve how I understand it.
Good chance for Torbjorn there. Or people just running like Anna Soldier on the high ground for the defense.
Both are better than May, so it'll be a good time. Except May, it does have some advantages on Numbani. I don't know if they do it in pro games, but you see a lot of people when they try to take the stairway up to the high ground, trying to block that door off with part of the team in there. That's a pretty viable strategy. So especially with the way that most of the entrances, unless you run it down main on Numbani, I think we might be in for quite a bit of May play there too, though. Just based on the ways to get into the point, it's good for walling people off. Almost just as good or better as like that first point on Kings Row. So we'll see what teams choose to run going into that.
I have a love-hate relationship with Dorado personally. I sometimes love to see it. I loved when Gladiators beat Titans to get the map 5. I think that was a great time for Dorado. I also remember when we lost Valiant on Dorado, and then Valiant just was like the kings of Dorado, like stage 4, season 1. So for me, I don't know what to think about Dorado. I've always seen it as something that I hate, but then lately I've kind of liked because we had a pretty cool map there. Other than that, I don't know. Like these maps aren't that bad. I could say a lot about Hanamura. I don't think it's one of those maps that I hate to see my team play, but I enjoy when other teams play it. There's a lot of things that this map pool brings. I think it's cool to see them all back. Paris, it always brings some weird strats. I'm gonna talk nice about it. It brings some weird strats that I kind of enjoy every once in a while. This isn't bad. I just wish King's Row was back. And that's really the only thing I'd change.
Anytime I see Paris on the map pool, I'm just like, are they trying to curb the viewership? I was like, come on, like I don't want to see.
God.
Wouldn't you rather watch it than play it?
I'd rather just go to Paris.
I mean, you can't right now.
No, not right now. I can't go anywhere. I'm staying inside.
Yeah, there you ago. So yeah, I guess in hindsight, it's better to watch than to actually play, but I'm not gonna be happy about it one way or the other whenever it does happen on that front. But anyways, we do have week 7 matches this week to look forward to. Outside of that, they are still working on the schedules for the weeks ahead. So if you guys are going to the Overwatch League website and trying to find out when stuff is happening, the full schedule is not out as of yet. Good chance we'll probably hear something by, this weekend's broadcast because of that. So just giving them a couple of days to kind of like iron out all their plans on that front, and then hopefully they'll have a plan in place on, like, say, next Friday for us to see some of the Chinese teams play, which I'm feeling is going to be very likely at this point. But looking at the weekend ahead, we have 4 matches this weekend. So looking at Saturday, we kick things off at 11 a.m. Pacific time with the San Francisco Shock returning against the debut win, at least in 2020, Seoul Dynasty, followed by a battle for LA at 1 p.m. Pacific time between the Valiants and the Gladiators. So, looking at this, I know it's been a little while since we've actually talked about Seoul. So just as a reminder, I feel like we should refresh who is on the roster, because I feel like it's been like 5 weeks minimum since we've talked about the Dynasty. So the Dynasty enter this season, and looking at their support line, they got Toby back at main support, with their flex support options being Creative and Bedosian. For the tank line, they had signed Gesture, formerly of the London Spitfire, and they kept both Marvel and Michel. And then for DPS, we have Fitz, Illicit, and then, of course, notably the biggest acquisition, formerly of the London Spitfire, Profit. So, still a lot of questions about who's going to be starting, who's going to be sitting. I can imagine Creative will get the nod over Bedosian at this point, knowing how much familiarness there is with these former Spitfire teammates. But it's still a question of, is Gesture coming in and starting immediately and kind of breaking up that cohesion on the front line between Michel and Marvel? But, I have to say, guys, when I saw this schedule initially, I was like, why couldn't they have, like, flipped these Dynasty matches? Because, it's going up against the Shock right out of the gates in a new format. I'm assuming we're going to keep the Week 6 hero ban since there wasn't play, but it's just like, this is a kind of like throw you in the deep end and see how you do type of situation if you're at the Dynasty.
Yeah, they definitely hooked Dynasty up with some really tough games this weekend. But I also think that with the signings Dynasty made, I think Soul's going to be really good. Little known fact, when it comes to my favorite Overwatch League players, you've got everyone that's ever played for Houston Outlaws. And then next, right after that list is Profit. I think that dude is awesome and is just insanely talented. And I'm curious if, like, this breath of fresh air onto a new team, but still having a little bit of familiarity of who he's playing with, is going to propel them to be like the best year Seoul has had so far this year in the Overwatch League. Like, they had a lot of hype coming into them and they never really met that. And I think that kind of might have put a little bit of a sour taste in people's mouths. But some of these new signings they have, Gesture plays well, but Doshin has massive pop-off potential. Like, they really could be getting like a big up with some of that. And how preseason, what we kept saying is like, did Seoul get the good parts of London from season 1 or the parts that were dragging it down in season 2? And then we see Fury go to the Philly Fusion to barely even start. So that really makes me wonder, maybe Fury might have been a weaker point that was looking way up because of what the players was playing with. But that's just some wild speculation. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing Seoul. Like preseason, that was one of the most stoked teams I was to see play, and I'm really glad that we get to see them play against the Shock this weekend. To be honest, I actually think that I would pick Seoul as the underdog to beat the Shock this weekend. What do y'all think going in for that game? What kind of picks you looking at?
So, we're gonna talk about Seoul real quick. For me, if I see too much movement on this team, I think they have a lot of good players all around. I think they just need to have a solid base. If I see Marvel in once and then they're gonna switch to gesture and stuff like that, I'm gonna call this a failure. I don't think they should do that with this roster. I feel like they should have a solid lineup. Maybe next week, if Reinhardt's banned or something like that, put in gesture for the Winston and stuff. But I feel like they should put these tanks on heroes that they can master and like just make their own. I think Gesture's a great player. I don't want him in. I want Marvel in. I think he had a lot better performances when we're playing goats. I know it's a different kind of Reinhardt, but I still think that he's probably going to be better. I think the synergy with Michelle is pretty good. I'm intrigued to see how well Michelle's gonna do right now. I feel like he's good. I just don't know how good he's gonna be compared to Choi. I think this matchup is really gonna show how good is Seoul Dynasty, but I'm really looking forward to the DPS. I've heard good things about Profits. I've heard really good things about Profits. If they can stand up to the to the Shock, I'm gonna be impressed. Like it's just one of those things. Is like they're playing the Shock. This is literally the hardest team you play first. After weeks of basically being dormant, not knowing when you're going to play, it's going to be hard for them. But if they have a good showing against Shock, I'm not saying they win, but if they have a good showing against Shock, you can definitely call them a top team, and that's what they're going to be looking for most of all.
Yeah, I think it's a trap game for the Shock. I think Seoul can pull it off. Definitely, they are the underdogs going in, and there's a little bit of power to being the underdogs. What do you think, Totem, about the Seoul versus Shock?
I just want to know what the DPS rotation is, because we know Illicit primarily is projectile. So if it's a May McCree situation, I haven't seen a ton of profit on McCree, and that's where I'm kind of worried, kind of like going into this weekend. If it's something where they're just planning on a run and dive, I would definitely feel a little bit more confident, but knowing what the past meta had been, given who's in the rotation right now, leaves me a little skeptical on that front. But I do agree, in like a Reinhardt situation, Marvel should get the nod over Gesture. In more of a dive setup, I prefer Gesture to come in into the fold on that front. And, on the Shock side of things, we keep hearing them hyping up Ons, but I still don't know if he's with the team or if he's still in Korea, so he just might be out of the equation for the foreseeable future at this point. But I want to see Ons come in on the Widowmaker at some point this season, but I don't think it's an option right now. But if Profits can, as Anura said, like live up to kind of like the high expectations, maybe this will be something to build off of for the Dynasty. Because Dynasty, they entered the Overwatch League with a bold name, a lot of hype behind him, didn't do so well. Then we saw a couple of changes going into Season 2. We saw an improvement. They made the playoffs for the first time. They made it through play-ins. Fortunately, they didn't win in the playoffs, but it was still an improvement. And now you bring in all of these big-name players, and they're just trying to, see an improvement again. And it's so hard to tell right now, just because there are so many different dynamics that are changing on a week-to-week basis at this point. So for me, it's just a matter of who's the McCree player. That's primarily what I need to know. And if it is Profits, we need to actually see it, because there's been too many situations where in the past where Prophet didn't have to worry about that. He could just play Tracer or Flex or other things. Birdwing was always the one that was on the hit scan on the London Spitfire. So as long as they can cover that, I'm feeling pretty confident about the Dynasty. But, up against the Shock, I'm pretty nervous as, Dynasty fans should be. But against the Gladiators, I definitely see that one being a closer match between the two on that front. But I'm excited one way or another because this is their debut for the season. This is a good litmus test to see how they're going to do against who is still arguably the best team in the league. And hopefully we won't have too many hiccups here.
Yeah, that's one of the things about the Shock is the only thing that they can do to surprise people this weekend is to lose. Like, if it comes out this weekend and Shock 3-0, 3-0 both games, that really wouldn't be much of a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's also the thing the way I think about it. The Shock come in this season with the target right on their back. Like, they are the number one team. Like, they won it all last year. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's like one of the teams that people look to learn from. Like, they are like the highest level of Overwatch League right now. They're the champs. So like that, there's like that extra motivation to be able to take a team like that down. And if you watch the watch point when Super come on Sunday, he seemed very, very confident. And there's like a fine line between being very confident in your play and getting too cocky. So I don't know how close the Shock are to that line, but also, like you were saying, he talked very highly of Ons. Like, he said that he's one of the best rookie players in the league, and said a couple other pretty high praises of him. So I would really kind of hope we get to see what he's going to bring to the table this weekend. Like, that's like a very unknown signing in the league, and just hear people talking so highly about it. I definitely want to see what he's got going on.
I want to talk about the Valiant. Can we talk about the Valiant?
Absolutely.
I feel like,
of course,
I feel like the Valiant have two of the most hype games for them. I think they're a very hype-based team, especially with a guy like Gig. These guys can come out on fire. They can come out fast and hard on both of these teams. I feel like, if anything, I know people said that, like, I think you said that Seoul was the trap game for Shock. I really think Valiant can come out really hungry for a win. And if they do well against Gladiators and they don't feel down, I can see them coming even stronger against the Shock. Like, this is not, you don't underestimate the Valiant. I don't think you should ever underestimate this team. This team they're not going to be the best team this year. I can guarantee you that, but they're always going to be a struggle. They're always going to be a challenge. I know they got 3-0'd by Titans, but with that being said, I still think that it's been a while. I think they've had more time to gel as a team, because I still think that they had Gig and KSP pretty late into the offseason. This could be two big games where Valiant, I have them losing, but it's 40-60. I think both teams for both games for me, if not like 45-55 against Gladiators. Like, this team could actually pop. And this is coming from a Gladiators fan. I'm super worried about Valiant. I'm more worried about Valiant losing to Valiant than I am against Seoul.
Well, something we haven't really talked about is the fact that, well, we know Lucio is banned for this week's games. And, Toby's been known for his Lucio. Rain's Lucio has been pretty good, and we haven't gotten an opportunity to see Rain on some of these other main supports. So it could really boil down to whoever has the strongest Ana going into this current weekend, or Baptiste, whichever the rotation is going to be at this point. But I do say, in Valiant news, I did get a good chuckle at Apply, who was asking whether or not he could say that all of his OnlyFans subscriptions could be marked down as a business expense.
Valiant team splitters.
I knew where you were going with
love them. They're great. Oh my god.
Yeah, I like the Valiant.
The players are insane. I love the Valiant. Yeah.
So
I don't like the Adorn.
preseason, I thought Valiant was gonna be a bottom team. Now I don't think they're like dirt bottom, but I still don't think that they're very good. Like Valiant, I don't see them pulling out a win in either of these games. Like we thought they were gonna be trash tier, and then they come out and open 1-1. They beat Dallas. Dallas, they're looking okay this year. Like we kind of, it's like it's not a big accomplishment to beat Dallas.
Oh,
Like,
great DPS, and the butt
yeah,
stops there.
yeah,
Dallas has
there
good
you go.
DPS. And
Yeah, Decay,
They have
he's
a
a
team as well.
madman, but he's gonna hurt himself if he tries to carry that whole team all the way. So I don't think that I think Valiant are definitely a little bit better than we thought, but I don't think that they're gonna be a good enough team to compete with like top 10 teams. They might take a map off the Gladiators, but I don't really see them like actually showing up and winning. And if I'm wrong, I could be wrong. Like I really think that Los Angeles Valiant, we kind of rated them preseason in the 19 or 20 slot. And it's kind of surprising to see that they probably should be in like the 13 or 14 slot, like they're better than we thought, but they're not like, oh my God, they're going to be champions. Like, yeah, I definitely have a little bit lower opinion of the Valiant until we see something like a little bit more from them, like a win over Dallas. That's what they got going for them. Like it's something. It's better than I thought they could do, but it's not like they're playing the Gladiators, who definitely are a competitive team. Like we can compare Gladiators and Valiant. Both played the Titans. One of them was a very close game. The other one was a total roll. And I know that the math doesn't always check out that way. Like that's, there's a lot more to it than that. But
This is
I
where you
mean,
go
it's
into
definitely.
the Houston defeated Paris bit.
Well, no, that has multiple points. If you want me to, I can get started on that.
No.
But there's multiple points. Not only did Houston dominate Paris, who then beat Philly, Houston also beat Toronto in less maps than Philly did. So there's multiple points there. When you start stacking the evidence, it gets a little bit more convincing, in my opinion. But that's probably a little bit tilted in like favor of one. But yeah, I don't think that we're going to see Valiant come out super strong. I think that of the teams playing this weekend, undoubtedly Valiant's the weakest of the 4 teams playing this weekend. But there's also the LA versus LA that can kind of fuel a little bit of a rivalry. So there's something that could happen there. On Sunday, we got both y'all's favorite teams going head to head. So with Seoul Dynasty versus LA Gladiator, that's probably one of the closest games this weekend in my projections. Like, what do y'all see going into that one?
This one's pretty interesting because I think both of these teams are actually fairly good. I mean, obviously we haven't seen the dynasty as of yet. I am curious to get your thoughts on what DPS you're expecting to see in regards to the Gladiators, because for a while it just seemed like Birdreed and Jaru were going to be the primary picks here, but we did see Mirror come into play a little bit so far this season. Do you think that's going to be changing now that we've had a little bit more time to kind of just get situated?
If it's a May comp, I see Jaru in. If not, I definitely see more Mirror. I think Mirror is an insane talent. I think he works well with the team. I think he's I'm high on Mirror. Yeah, I've been saying I've been high on Mirror for a while. If it's May comp, I want Jaru in. I'm gonna you can say he threw that last map from I don't know, but I honestly I'd rather have him on May, and I think he's a great fit. I do think that it's just I want OGE and Winston. I want OGE on probably anything else other than Ryan and maybe some ball. Even though OG has a great ball, it's one of those things overall, I think Mirror is an insane talent. I think he's probably the future for this team. DPS line, it's gonna be at the end of the day, it's gonna have Birdring and someone else. I think Jaru's gonna do his job pretty well. I think Mirror has an insane pop off potential that really could be unmatched in some teams. I want to see Blase versus Mirror Doomfist. I want to see a lot of things like that. There's a lot of things I want to see from the Gladiators. But to go for the Gladiators as a whole, these are two huge games for them. They came out firing on all cylinders against Titans and came close and just bottom out. They need to win this to win at least one of these games to really prove that they have what it takes to be a top team this year. I think Valiant always plays Gladiators close. We never want to lose against Valiant. And Valiant always plays hard. You can strike the last time Valiant versus Gladiators play as just Gladiators just having a good grasp on the meta at that time. And Valiant, I still think they're weaker than what they are now. Gig gives me some questions, but other than that, I think Valiant's really fucking strong. But overall, Gladiators, I think, have this this weekend for me is Soul's dangerous. If Soul plays good against Shock, I still think Gladiators have a chance against them. I think that tells you more of how good Gladiators is versus, like how good Soul is or anything like that. Go ahead.
With that game, we get the narrative of Prophet versus Birdring, the former teammates going head to head, and looking forward to see how that kind of battle goes on. And
I just want
also
Prophet to teabag him at some point.
Oh, I love it. And it seems like as this season's going on, that's been getting embraced just a little bit more. And I live for it. Like any kind of way to bring more character in is great. But also, is there a world where Gladiators, like with hero pools, the Gladiators don't play Birdring every map? Like it wouldn't be absolutely impossible to see like a Mirror and Jaru lineup. Like they both are talented and have their high points. So like we don't have full insight, because one of the things we've also heard going in is that these Asian teams have a different meta than what's been going on for the Western teams. So like we don't know what we're going to be seeing from Seoul specifically in that statement. So like they might bring something out.
I don't know if I would include Seoul in that.
Oh,
I think Gladiators have spent more time in Seoul than Seoul. The Gladiators spent like basically almost a month before the quarantine happened, and they booked it. With the meta being said, I still think for the double, I still think there's a chance if Mira needs to flex more than Birdring on certain heroes that Birdrings isn't comfortable in. I can see a world where Mirror gets to head over Birdring.
Yeah, I would say that would probably be more in a situation where there was, say, like Hanzo or like Doomfist, maybe Genji type of situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
See that take the forefront there.
Yeah, because I kind of think that Birdring's gonna be their McCree. So where they have that this weekend, like I'm expecting to see quite a bit of McCree this weekend. So I kind of think that we're gonna see him there, but in a future meta, like especially what you were suggesting, like a heavier dive meta, I think it's real possible to see Birdring not in. Also, it's also possible to see him not in if he has his ups and downs that we know that he's been able to do in the past. So I think that the fact that they definitely have backups there that are competent is just a really good look for the Gladiators. Like Birdring has looked pretty good this season, but to me, the test for him is not if he looks good. Sometimes is if he can put it together consistently and keep it going. So I really root for it to happen. Like I want to see him be successful, but until it happens, it's hard to really count on. I think that he's got a lot of potential and I don't think that he's burnt out and spent yet. Like I don't think that he should be in line to be moving on like a lot of players do after a bad season. Like I think that there's ability for him to prove that players can have a down season and come back and still remain at the top of the game. I'm pretty stoked. That's one of my most hyped games this weekend is that Dynasty versus Gladiators, in my opinion, because it's going to tell us a lot. By that time, it's going to tell us a lot about where we're going to be ranking all of these teams in with the other teams we've seen more this year.
Yeah, because going in, all of us had Dynasty and Gladiators, I'm pretty sure, in top 10. If I'm not
Oh, yeah,
mistaken.
I did.
Yeah, I think I'd put Gladiators higher from where I did based off the last performance.
Mhm.
So if Soul's better than we thought, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think that it shakes out for Soul and Gladiators to be neck and neck in power ranking. So that's like super hype. I'm super hype. I can't say enough about how excited I am for that game.
I can't wait. And I also can't wait to just see what other matches we'll be having on these upcoming Fridays as they try to make up some of these otherwise canceled matches at this point. So hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have a clear picture of what we can expect, the upcoming weeks ahead. But for now, we just kind of gotta sit tight, take it week by week at this point. But we got matches this weekend. I'm off on Sunday, and I'm happy about that. So I'll actually get to watch Dynasty versus Gladiators, which I'm very hyped for on that front. But outside of that, guys, I think that pretty much covers it. There hasn't really been too much other movement or news, and we'll get to see how teams are going to fare without Lucio. Are all of these teams going to just run the Symmetra teleport trick right out of the gate on every map and then switch off? I don't know. That could definitely come into play as well, because you're not going to have the Lucio speed boost for that support to get back. There's so many different things that we have to think about on that front. But hopefully we're going to see a nice variety of support play this week, and we'll see if McCree May is going to continue to dominate like it had in those prior weeks leading up to week 7. So with that being said, I think it's time that we call it here. So if you guys want to help us out, the best thing to do is, of course, to head over to iTunes and write us a review. Let us know how we're doing and if there's anything you'd like to see us incorporate into the show to make for a better listening experience. If you're looking for additional content to consume and, given their circumstances, I'm sure a lot of people are looking for more podcasts right about now. Be sure to check out Overwatch Recall, which is our podcast directory for all things Overwatch. And then every Sunday we do the weekly recall, which has a listing of all the episodes that were released within that prior week. So to keep up to date on that end, follow Overwatch Recall on Twitter at OW Recall. Now, Aaron, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners know how they can help support our show?
If you'd like to show the show some additional support to our network of Overwatch shows, consider pledging to via Patreon. Tiers start at just $1 a month. More information can be found at www.patreon.com/OWL network. You too can join the likes of our master and above Patreons, Daniel, Owl, Kasha, Ancient Life, and 044 in helping our network grow. And Booker, how can they contact the show?
Yeah, if you want to contact the show via email, you can send an email to contact@owlnshow.com. We have a website where you can find all our information at owlnshow.com. On Twitter, our handle for the show is owlnshow. You can find replays of all the episodes of this podcast at youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. We have a Discord server, which is very important if you want to participate in the upcoming game night. You can find that at discord.me/OWLN show. You can catch all of the episodes of this show and other shows live on Twitch at twitch.tv.owln show. We're a Twitch affiliate. You can help support the show by subscribing to the channel and earn the network emoticon. The podcast network streams regularly. You've got this show, Overwatch League Network, Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. On Tuesdays, you got Overwatch League by the Numbers, which airs at 6 p.m. Pacific. And then Heroes Never Die, the variety Overwatch show, which airs Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. And if you want to contact the host, my Twitter handle is at boogerbrains with two Z's, BOOGERBRAINZZ. And I might be streaming a lot more pretty soon here. I haven't been doing it in a while, but there might not be much else to do. So keep your eyes on that if you want to see some games going on. What about y'all's Twitters?
Well, you can find myself on Twitter at TumblyDrunkCTR, and when I do stream on Twitch, it is at twitch.tv/TumblyDrunk. But Anura, where can our listeners get a hold of you?
You can always find me on Twitter, AnuraOW. I'll probably be tweeting more now that more time to think about stupid things. So yeah, just follow me there.
You know, I was going to say that I was going to host Spider, but he's wrapping up his stream, so we're not going to do that. So
Host him anyway. Screw it.
Take a second and let's hype this game night coming up Saturday. It is going to be at 7 p.m. Pacific, and they have been an absolute blast so far. And we would love to see more people show up and just have a good time and forget about what else is happening going on. We'll play some Overwatch and have a ton of fun together.
yeah, hopefully we'll have enough for a full lobby. If not, we could always spam stuff for the event. Make sure everyone gets their challenges done, gets that Brigitte cat emote, all of that good stuff. But we hope you guys can join us Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific time on that front. And, you know, who knows? Maybe we'll just start to, you know, look at doing stuff more often in the near future on that front, too, just because a lot of people are going to be stuck home nowadays. So definitely now is the time to get more involved within the community as well. So with that being said, guys, I do want to thank you again for joining us for another episode of Overwatch League Network. You've been listening to episode number 118. I've been your host, Tumbly Drunk, joined as always by my co-hosts Anura and Booker, and we hope to see you guys back for the next one. You guys take care and have a good night.